Hi there, this is Josh from Literary Gladiators, and today I'm here with a book review. The book that I'm going to be reviewing is from an underrated author in the field of horror fiction. He also identifies as a thriller writer, and that is John Saul. And the book that I'm going to be going over is Punish the Sinners, which is the second one that he wrote and published back in 1978. I've read When the Wind Blows and Suffer the Children, and both have gotten under my skin with regard to how intense they were and how horrific and impactful. His works are very dark and brutal, and this one is by no means, it's no exception to the rule. In this particular novel, Peter Balsam, who previously went to St. Francis Xavier as a youth, has come back on the request of Monsignor Peter Vernon, who both of them went together, and now Monsignor Vernon wants Peter Balsam to come back and teach Latin and psychology. Latin doesn't really seem like an issue, but psychology in a Catholic school operated by the Catholic Church is something that is really sketchy. And Peter Balsam is not the greatest candidate. He doesn't have the greatest resume. Between his marriage ending in separation and the fact that he did a paper on suicide and how he has a more liberal approach to it, he doesn't seem like the ideal candidate, but Monsignor Vernon allegedly likes this contrast. Then we get to the class itself. The students that we see the greatest concentration on are Judy Nelson, Karen Morton, Penny Anderson, and Janet Connolly, who are a group of teenage girlfriends, and another girl who's an outcast. Her name is Marilyn Crane. Some more supporting members of this group of kids include Jim Mulvey, who is Karen's boyfriend, and Jeff Brenner, who has a bit more of, he's a bit more sympathetic. And then you also have the nuns that work at the school, and Peter Balsam's person that he's dating at the time, Margot. But Peter Balsam's psychology classes are very hands-on. I got a great reminiscence of John Keating's English classes, which was Robin Williams' character in Dead Poets Society. It doesn't necessarily... There's different lenses to which this particular novel pays attention. They pay more attention to the horrors that take place that revolve around suicide. And then there's also this 13th century horror having to do with St. Peter Martyr, and how Monsignor Vernon has this cult arranged with fellow priests in which they worship this martyr, and the connections between him and then St. Peter Balsam himself, who Monsignor Vernon thinks that this is a reincarnation of sorts, which in a way it's just contradictory after contradictory. And then you also have the parents, who I saw them as being very clueless. They had the right motive in which they cared for their children, but they were just such bubbleheads as far as I'm concerned with their, not just with just the way that they handled situations. They were just really they were bubbleheads. That's all I can say. I read this novel as a buddy read with Julie from A Girl in a Book. Since she joined BookTube, Julie has expressed great interest in getting into horror fiction, and so I could not help but recommend John Saul, because I feel that in a genre dominated by Stephen King, Dean Koontz, and Anne Rice, who are all great authors, I feel that there are also authors that really need greater focus, and John Saul is one of them. He's made an impact each time, and he did it again here. I think that this is, as I said, it's dark, it's brutal. It really plays with your mind to the point that it is graphic, but at the same time, the psychological elements, they kick in too, especially when you really find out what Monsignor Vernon's cult is, and why Monsignor Vernon wants to keep Peter Balsam at the school, even though he has complaints with his teaching mechanisms time and time again. This is definitely not for everybody. It's not for the squeamish, it's not for the sensitive, and I feel that for its target audience, it's bound to deliver. And I highly recommend this. I gave it 4 out of 5. I think that When the Wind Blows is still my favorite John Saul novel, but this and Suffer the Children are pretty much on the same footing. I would say that I like Punish the Sinners a little bit more, but both of them are still 4-star reads, and they get my recommendation. Thank you for tuning into this video. I hope you check out some more of what we have to offer, and for now, keep reading.